Good governance to be.
Okay, welcome back to New Day. It's now time for business, and this morning my guest is Dr. Godfred Botpin, who is a senior lecturer at the Department of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, and he's here to tell us about the importance of prioritizing as a business owner. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
By God's grace, I'm doing very well.
Right.
I hope you're also doing well.
Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Now, we all know that in these very trying economic times, there's the need for one to prioritize to make good of their business.
It's not something that you can negotiate. Guess what? Going into business is optional. But once you are in business, planning is not optional. It's part of the economic context. It's part of the business environment where you find yourselves, and therefore you don't need faith necessarily to believe in it. You have to act it out.
Okay. Apart from budget, what else goes into planning? What other things can
planning also involves setting goals, usually long term, but in the short term you want to have objectives. So planning will help you to have the right objectives, and normally we say that your objective must be smart, okay? They must be specific, they must be measurable, realistic. Also, don't set targets that only God can achieve, because you are not God. You understand? It has to be realistic. It also has to be attainable. You should be able to achieve that, because you are going to work with people. So if you set a target, everybody should be able to have the realistic expectation that is achievable, but it doesn't have to be too low also, because you don't want to be average. You want to be able to get to the very top. So in that case, it's important for you to make your objective attainable, and there has to be a timeline. It must be time bound. In doing all these things, also realize that to be able to do this, you must have a mission, which comes also with planning. Why are you in business? Are you in business just because you don't have anything to do? Then you will not go far. Are you in business just because you want to cross the poverty line somebody drew for you a couple of years ago? No. There must be a compelling reason for going into a business, and that must be stated and captured very well in your mission or your vision. Out of it, you drive your objectives and then your long-term goals. Doing all these things, you realize that you have to analyze the environment, which in this case I will break into two, right? The external environments. Okay, the political environment, the economic environment, the socio-cultural, the technological environment. When you do this analysis of the external environment, you'll be able to identify what opportunities are there for you to exploit, what threats are there for you to be mindful of. Then you also have to do internal analysis, right? A resource audit, in order to identify your strengths, which will enable you to take advantage of the opportunities that you have identified, as well as your weaknesses that you have to overcome. So planning is very key for startups, as well as even for growing and established businesses.
Okay. Now, we know times are hard. There's no doubt that
and they will always be hard.
Exactly. The economic situation in the country now is not the best. For the average business person, how would you advise them to manage their scarce resources? Like, for instance, at the end of the month, you have very limited resources. Which do you prioritize? Paying your employees as to maybe paying your electricity bill?
Yeah, what is important is that you have to pay all of them.
Exactly. So what do you do?
Okay, so I think that some things can be negotiated. You're looking at which one of them can. Perhaps you may want to talk to your employees. The willingness of your employees to accept this will depend on how much they see themselves in their business. Because if they have to accept this proposal that, look, you won't be paid maybe this month, or it's going to be middle of next month, then it means that they are trading off something today for a return tomorrow. They have to be certain that they will be compensated for the kind of trade-off that they have to do today. So it's also important for the business owner to see his employees as being part owners. Oftentimes our problem is that the entrepreneur thinks that he's the only person who is smart on earth. Everybody else is not. But you know something? At the introductory stage, what you need is an entrepreneurial skill. To manage it and make it grow, you need administrative skills. You need to set up centers, accounting systems, and internal controls, responsibility centers, and put people in there and demand accountability. But you also have to respect them, because they are as useful as the entrepreneur or the owner. So it's important, if you build this culture of ownership and a part in that business, it's very easy for them to understand the hard times and to get along with you, because they know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, even though they might not be sure how long is that tunnel.
Okay, so negotiating is very important.
Yeah, it's very important.
Okay. Now, we've talked about planning, budgeting, preparation, and all of that. But in as much as the business owner will do all of this, from time to time, they'll also prioritize wrongly. What are some of the common mistakes that business owners make when it comes to prioritizing?
That is why the vision is very important. The very reason why you are in business. If you are in business for your own good, you won't go far. If you are in business for the common good, there's a compelling reason to go very far, and you are likely to draw people along. So it's very important. What
are some of these reasons, these compelling reasons?
Yeah, there's a problem that has to be solved. That problem is bigger than you, but the motivation is to get that problem solved, and you are in business. Don't think that what we call an opportunity is something that is dressed in some jacket or something. These are problems, these are challenges. So entrepreneurs really position themselves to be a solution to these challenges, difficulties, right? And so that in so doing, they are in employment, and they give employment to what? To other people. But along this path also, mistakes would certainly come, and of course mistakes are evidence that we are human beings, you understand? But the most important thing, do we have a humble heart to admit I've been wrong, and to even let your employees know that, look, this wasn't the right way, you understand that? And sometimes the business owner thinks that the best idea is in the head of the head. No.
The head of the head.
Yeah, because the business owner is the head, and he thinks that the best idea is in the head of the head. Okay, but you realize that what the business needs might just be in the possession of just an ordinary person at the workplace. Okay, so if we have that participatory approach to managing the business, where people are free to make contribution and suggestion, you will be amazed that the solution is actually in the hands of someone. Guess what? When Jesus Christ wanted to feed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, you know where the solution was? It was in a certain lad, not in the disciples.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
a teenager.
That's serious.
Yeah. The disciples were there. I mean, Peter, John, and the rest of them. But the Bible says that there was a lad who had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He was the solution.
So look beyond the ordinary and include everybody.
And create that enabling environment where people's innovativeness can be appreciated. Then in that way, I tell you, you will be able to generate ideas that would help the business go beyond the introductory stage. It's very important.
Okay. How important is it to have a business plan? Not just to have and stick to it, a business plan and a marketing plan.
You see, it's important, but it's not an end in itself. Having a plan, a strategy, whether marketing, operational, whatever, it's not an end in itself. You must have an implementation strategy or skill to be able to translate that plan or strategy.
Because a lot of times people have brilliant ideas, but they don't stick to it or follow through on it. So how important is it, and how can people learn to stick to their plans?
The award-winning style is to go ahead and do it, and do it along with people, and do it with the intention that you are not really after the credit, you are after the common good. You understand? So
where does returns come in all of this? We haven't mentioned money once.
Of course, there has to be
people are in business to make money as well.
They are in business to make money. By solving a problem, you are making money. You understand that? Entrepreneurs create, they don't loot. You understand that? So you are in a business, and by doing something, you get a return, you get a compensation for that. You want to develop a product, you have a need to meet. In meeting that need, what are you getting? You are getting a compensation for that. Because in this world, as a business person, you are only useful to the extent that you have something to offer. The world has enough problems. What the world is looking for is what? Solution. Be that solution to that problem. And you are in business. And I tell you, you will make your profit.
Okay, let's talk about infrastructure development. In that area, what is the most cost-efficient way for a business owner to go? Which way should they to undertake, basically?
It's important for the business owner to understand the circumstances or the nature of his business and essentially where to locate or even to have your business. It's a startup. You want to be at a prime area. The cost of renting a place there might just eat up your whole capital. So it's important to begin somewhere. That somewhere must be appropriate and satisfactory to the nature of the business so that you can grow from there. You understand? You have to earn the right to be at the prime area.
Give us an example of a business and a location.
Yeah, for instance, maybe you want to set up a pure water or something. You want to have the factory or whatever somewhere at a prime area in Accra. You know how much it costs the banks to have a branch in certain areas? It's very, very expensive, and it's a cost center. So you want to be able to set up at a place where it's easy maybe to also access your customers. You understand? And given the huge infrastructure deficit, the traffic and all of that, right, it's important to choose a location where you will not be dealing with the traffic every now and then, because we don't really see an end to that very in the shortest possible time. So it's very, very important. So in all these things, you realize that if you had done an environmental analysis or the external audit of the environment, you'll be able to identify these challenges and see how you can position yourself to be able to overcome them. If you are ignorant of them, chances are that you will not be able to survive that infrastructure deficit or challenge.
But for a startup business, is this very pragmatic or even necessary? Location and product or business?
Yeah, it's important. Some people start from their kitchen, others start from their house, their backyard, and from there they move on. So as a business expands, because you have something to offer, you want to also innovate or build your office or location appropriately. So it should be as part of the growth stage as you go along, and just don't fight to be at the prime when actually you have not earned the right to be there. You don't really have the fundamentals that support you to be at that place. So it's important to choose a location that is best suits the size of your firm, okay? But it's also important to be mindful that this is not the end. We won't be here for long. I hope that is okay. But we have a strategy. We have a path that we are following, and we know that we will get there. It's important.
Still on infrastructure, what about the areas of roads, water, energy?
Yeah, these are challenges for every business, including individuals. And sometimes it could just be the determining factor for the location of a business. You want to, so if you will use more of water, you want to be able to maybe site your business where these amenities or resources are available. So it's important. There are certain things that you don't have option, right? So maybe energy, unreliable power supply. You may want to invest in alternative power, okay? So it's important, but you can do this well if you're able to anticipate them, that these are challenges, so that you don't get there and say, oh, we didn't know. You should have known.
Okay. Human resource development is also a challenge for most business owners, isn't it?
Great. And something I find a bit not good for the Ghanaian or most African business owners, that they don't really know how to work through people and with people. The entrepreneur thinks that, yes, this business is mine, and therefore you qualify to do anything to anybody, insult them and the rest of them. I tell you, the right people you actually need to go forward will leave. So it's important to recognize that I need to work with people and through people. And I tell you, the most important asset of any business is actually the human resource. Okay? And even God, when He took our very nature, Jesus Christ, and He came, He could have done the salvation business alone, but He decided to work with people and through people. So He chose a board size of 12. the 12 disciples, which I believe that was also meant to represent the 12 tribes of Israel, because in building that, representational needs is very important. Okay, so even God appreciates that he needs to work with people and through people, and this is how much God values a human being, for him to come and die for us. So the key thing is that the business is not just for the owner, the business is for society. And let's look at organizing the business not just as an assembly of machines, because society is bigger than a marketplace. It's bigger than just economic machines. Okay, so it's important for people to have a sense of justice in how the administration of the business is even done, and you're going to do this through human beings. To set up a business, what you need is an entrepreneurial skill. To manage it, sustain it, and make it grow, you also need administrative skills. So that partnership is important. That I need you as much as you also what need me is key.
Godfrey, I can see you're a very religious person. You've made a few biblical analogies this morning.
I'm just an ordinary servant of Christ.
Okay, so talking about human resource development, there are a lot of entrepreneurs also like to multitask a lot. They take on a lot of different roles on a daily basis. Is this necessarily a bad thing? Especially when you're trying to prioritize and cut down on cost and all of that. So what is wrong if you take on a few roles?
Yeah, it's very important. At some point, you have to focus on very few and do it very well. As you move along, you can add on. You can't do everything. And I always refer people to this. Look at Paul the Apostle. What was his motto? He said, "This one thing I do, forgetting about those things which are behind." He presses forward with that one thing. So it's key. You can do everything, and you were not created to do everything after all. Okay, so it's important to prioritize. What is it that I'm very good at doing? What is it that this business is noted for? We have to do that and do that very well. As you go along, you realize that along the value chain, you may be adding some form of businesses to it. That is not bad after all, but you have to look at the stage of it, the appropriateness of the introduction of one or more businesses, and whether you have the capacity to be able to manage that.
Okay. When it comes to expansion, what kind of strategy should one implement?
Yeah. So if you've done your strategic analysis, you've done environmental analysis, identify your opportunities and threats, okay, as well as the internal audit, you'll be able to map up the right strategy. So for instance, you may want to go for product development, market development, or market penetration. So do we still have opportunity in the existing market with the existing product? Then you want to be able to increase your market share. What is the way to go? You have to be able to look at the competitive environment, look at what your competitors are doing. Can I increase the market share by lowering my price without necessarily throwing off board the bottom line? It's important to look at all those. So you may consider market development or market penetration, product development. You may also want to look at diversification. Do we need to go into a new area with a new business idea? It's risky, but it's worth it. So when you do your analysis very well, you'll be able to understand what is the right strategy for me to adopt. Or you want to even go by acquisition or marriage, what we call mergers.
Right.
You understand?
So this is where your marketing plan comes in and plays a very important role.
And whilst you are doing all of this also, you want to be able to explore the interconnectedness among the various divisions within the business. Your accounting and finance, management information systems, okay, human resource, operational issues, all those in research and development, all those things must work. And then you'll be able to identify the overlaps, eliminate them, duplication, avoid them, because you don't have all the resources in this world to abuse. Okay, you only have just enough to do what you have to do. So it's important.
Okay, now finally, when it comes to technological upgrades, where should this lie in the scale of priorities of the company?
Yeah, technology has become part and parcel of the business context today. You don't have a choice. You understand that? If it has to do with tablets, give it. You understand? Invest in it. When God had to give Moses the 10 Commandments, he gave it to him in the tablets. Right there, they have started using the tablet. Right? So invest in the right technology, because it is part of the larger economic context in which businesses operate today. And it helps you. If you have to set up a website as a way of maintaining your presence in the web, is also very important. So you cannot trade off that. It's part and parcel of what businesses are about today.
Okay, Godfrey, I think we'll have to have you back for a lesson in Bible studies. You seem to be very well versed in that. Thank you very much for coming on this morning to speak to us on the importance of prioritizing as a business owner. That's what we've been talking about in our business segment this morning. And my guest has been Dr. Godfrey Boffin, who is a senior lecturer at the Department of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School.